Well, it's almost time for the dash. Alright, so fudge bar. So on the timeline of the project here, we've got a gasket kit on order for the timing chain cover on the 318. When that comes into play, we'll deal with it immediately. But I thought this dash needs to come apart. We ordered the paint, the special old school paint, to redo this dash, and it will do most of your old Mopars, especially if it's black. It's melting. And it's $200 a quart reduced. It's lacquer paint, and it's got a really hard to find lacquer reducer apparently. That's what I've been told. I figured you use lacquer thinner, which you can get anywhere. So I don't know. I don't know the situation, but I know we need it. We're going to use it on this, and it's enough to do this here in the duster when we're ready, because it's got a black dash too. But we need to strip this one down and take care of all the stuff. We got all the wiring harness in it, cigarette lighter, wiper control, bezels, the gauge cluster, the glove box, and the dash pad, and then the vents for the defroster. We're going to have to repair a couple little spots on it too. A couple holes right here that were drilled in, and then they cut out two of the little ribs that where your speaker would be to run something through there, but they just chipped them out. So we'll probably have to replace a little bit of metal on it. So we're going to start tearing it down and put the little stuff in the little tray so we keep it together, and it's for the dash. Alright, so first things first, I think we'll go ahead and take out the dash instrument cluster. Now one thing I've noticed about this dash, I know it's for a van, right? But it's really not too different from a lot of the cars. So the duster in the back, it actually removes almost the same way, almost to a T. It has the handful of screws across the windshield channel, which the windshield has to be removed in order to get access to those screws. So when we took out the windshield, we soon took out the dash. And then this one had two screws here, two screws there. And the only way that's different from most of the cars is you would have a little tab that comes down, and right behind the kick panel you have a screw here and a screw on that side. So really small potatoes in terms of how different they are like that. The dash pad mounts the same way. Now a lot of these vans did not have a dash pad, it was just smooth, but this one, for whatever reason, has a dash pad. Unfortunately, this one is cracked. So we might look into either getting it covered to look close to original, or see if we can find a replacement or something. I don't know yet. So this is unscrewed. Looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws holding it in. Of course, there'll be connections on the back side. And it looks like there are just a couple. Now here's the back of the cluster, and if you're familiar with the A bodies, the B bodies, even some of the C bodies, it's almost identical. It's just a different arrangement. You've got the same light bulb connectors, little sockets there, and then we got the little multi-plug situation right here, which just pulls out, and then we got our alternator wiring, our hot and our ground. Other than that, take it loose, it'll be separate from the wiring. Now these you got to be real careful with, because they have these pins. You can kind of see the base of them. They're just little brass pins, and they connect to this circuit board. You got to be real careful with these, okay? Because when you take them off, you don't want to twist them sideways or anything, because that'll sometimes snap those things right off. So the best thing to do is just take your time. Sometimes you can just take that and just give it a slight pry and move around on it. Little here. If you see it move a little bit, stop and keep moving around. They're just real touchy, especially when they get older like this. Just go side to side. Just apply your force very delicately. If you're gentle, you won't hurt the circuit board itself too much. Just don't go jabbing at it or anything. Okay, now I got it off. I had to upgrade to putty knife, and I just slipped it under there and just carefully, I didn't gouge into this or anything. And you just make sure you move around, just kind of get under there, pry up a little bit, find a spot here, pry up. And if you come in at any other angle, you can pry up just a little bit till it got to the tip, and you can kind of wiggle it off real careful. It's real tricky, and I'll show you some examples of some bad ones, and that would be right here. This is an A-body circuit board, and see how some of them are gone, they're bent. Whoever removed this one was not very gentle with it. This one here is in good shape, and you'll see the similarities between all of these. So this one's pretty good too. So I think I'll go ahead and see if I can pop the rest of the wiring loose, because there's not really much left that it's hanging on to. Probably the cigarette lighter and then a couple of looms up inside of there. One thing we do need is a little bit more room. I might have to tilt it forward to see, but let's see. So this is clear here. So it looks like right here, one of the looms on the edge of it. Pry it open. There that is. Cigarette lighter just pops on. It's like an elbow. There. And that's it. There's not a whole lot of dash wiring holding on to anything in the dash outside of the radio, and then, which this didn't have a radio originally, and the instrument cluster. The key where you turn it, which has already been disconnected, and your headlight switch, which has already been disconnected. There's really very few. It's very simple. So we're going to be real careful and take this wiring out of the way, because it is intact. It hasn't been hacked up or cut up on any. So we're going to remove it out of here, put it in safekeeping. I don't know which way to go. I guess go this way with it. And we'll just wipe it down good later. Check all the connections on it. If anything's corroded, we can hopefully clean it back. If not, we might have to do some replacing, but it looks like it's in really good shape. It doesn't look like there's any burn-ups on it. So that's pretty much the dash harness in at least a 72 van. Now there is a wire cut here. I do not remember exactly what that was. I think it was something they had running out through the firewall on an extra hull. So we're going to take a look at that and see what needs to be done there. If anything, when we get to putting it all together and if something doesn't work, we know it might be that. And it looks like it might be a hot wire. So I think we want to go ahead and take the the glove box lid out and the box itself before we flip it over, because everything else there I believe connects from the back side. So we'll get into that with just a few screws, nothing big. There's a little lanyard here you want to take loose. It's got a shouldered screw. It's a very specific screw, so don't lose it, and make sure it stays with the lanyard. It's right here. And you'll see it's got a little, like a little shank on it there. And it's just for it to fit on this ring, little eyelet. And 3 screws, lid comes out just like that. Now I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. I might actually get a different lid and just hang this one on the wall, because this is U.S. property, because this was an old Army cargo van. So I think I'll just keep it and put it aside. It's got a little bit of information on it, and if we put a regular one on there, have a smooth look and not have all these tags on it, but I don't want to necessarily take them off. It kind of tells a little bit of story about the van. So we'll put that one aside and see if we can find another one reasonable. And there's our box. Yeah, it's just dirty. It's in pretty good shape, so we don't want to bust it. Put it there for now. There's a little latch plate up here. Just gonna take it off. It's not painted to black, so we'll just give it a little detail. It's got a little bit of rust on it. It's got the same screws as the glove box itself, so we're not gonna worry about mixing them up or anything. Now it does have a glove box, a white, which is kind of unusual for this one. I already had it disconnected from the wiring harness, but it fits right here, and it's just got little prongs in the back. We'll have to push them together, and it should pop out through the front. So I think we can flip this over. Get our tools out of the way. Let's see what we got here. It's a little bit lighter at this point. What hit the floor was a little clip, and I'm thinking it's for, yep, instrument cluster, which actually I don't think that's original. I think they must have integrated that in there, because all of the other ones here are the little plastic push-in style, the ones that you'd see on like a license plate frame, little nylon blocks. So I think we'll probably have to get another one of those. They had this stuck in there, and I think that's why the screw is hanging out when I got it. So we'll deal with that after we get it painted. We got some sheet metal nuts here. There's 3 of them holding the bezel in for the AC controls. It is a plastic bezel, so you don't want to get too rough with it. Otherwise, you won't be able to get them back on. Those came off easy. My bad, this isn't a plastic, it's actually a hot metal one. But just the same, you don't want to booger up these little studs too much, because it will have a hard time going back together. So what else we got here? Looks like our switch for the wiper, our defrost vents, I should say, and then the dash pad itself. Fortunately, the dash vents, defrost vents, are in good shape. Usually, like on the Mopars, the plastic ones, they'll disintegrate. They're all the little gills are ripped out of them, dry rotted. These are in good shape. They actually look fairly pliable, so that's a good thing. Looks like it might take about a 5/8 nut to get them off. Let's see if we're right.
Nope, not 16ths. One side looks like it's a little hard to get to. It's right up against the tube on it. Got a nice snug fit.
Keep in mind, I was mentioning the other platforms earlier, because I know we may not interest a lot of people with the van right now. I'm sure when we get into the Duster and stuff, we might pick up some more people, but we got a lot of people who are just in here for general knowledge. Or if you're a die-hard Mopar guy, you're here. But let's say you've never gotten into the Dash like this. This will give you the basic of what's involved on almost every Mopar Dash. Very few exceptions. This is what most of them are like. Defrost vents, all the way down the instrument cluster. Some might have more screws than others, but the general engineering and construction is the same. So there's one. We're going to carefully poke it out by the stud, move it around a little bit, and it pops right out. So you can see they're in really good shape. They're not brittle at all, surprisingly. Got a cool Mopar. I don't know if you probably can't see it. It's got the old school Mopar logo, the two arrows, which they might have used this same thing in something earlier. We'll have to look that up. If it's got a part number on it. 2277655, and then there's a 4 way out, so it might go back into the 60s, something like that. I've never actually seen that on anything that I've owned. So just a little note. Now the other one here, I think they're identical. Yeah. They're basically bookend pieces, not a separate part number. Now some of the cars, I believe they have different part numbers for a left and right. These look like they are the same mold for both sides. Alright, so we got the defrost pretty much out. There it is. I'll make sure I pick that up. Don't want to lose it, right? Now this, if you ain't messed with one of these before, they're pretty simple. You basically have these little tangs on here that are just sheet metal. If you push one in and lean in towards it, and you go to the one next to it here, then you just work your way around. And there it is. Yeah, see it good there. Little teeth. So pretty simple there. Now on these are the Dash nuts right here. Right there. 3/8. Just like all the other cars. They're held in the same way. Now the only difference between one of these and let's say a Duster, where your dash pad leans down over here or curls down, you got an actual screw on each leg. Well, this doesn't have legs on it, it's pretty flat across here, so you don't need any of that. So we're going to take that off. And also right here, this is your cigarette outlet. If you hold the other side, which we already did that, loose it, this just unscrews, and then a whole piece comes out like that out the front, and this one comes off the back. And then we'll get into the wiper switch and show you how that works. Alright, so we got the nuts off this thing, and it's ready to just lift off. Nothing complex. There it is. There's our part number 2958749. KP Black, made in Canada. Got some grease marks on it. So we're going to see what we can do with that. Maybe we can get it recovered, fix these low, high spots in it. And then here is the dash itself. And this is the kind of paint that we need to get. You can see it's kind of a difference between here and here, because this has been covered for the better part of 50 years. It's really hard to pick up on the camera, at least in this light. It actually looks black here, and it's got this kind of a smooth but granule texture. That's what the paint is. It's a lacquer paint, and that's what we're going to have to duplicate here. Now this here, that's the only thing we got to do left. You're going to unscrew this. It's got little notches in it. Yep. Make sure it don't fall out the back. Now the knob, actually, yes. You know what I remember? These knobs have a little Allen screw underneath. You take that loose, the whole thing will slip off, and then this will unscrew. We don't want to lose that Allen screw. Can't remember what size it is exactly. Smaller than that. Smaller than that. So far up in there. There it is. So there's the screw. Pop that off. Unscrew this. And there we go. We got that in the bracket of the loom. So we're going to just slip it all back on there temporarily in the right order. Screw that on. Put this back on and then put the screw back in it. Same thing works on the headlight switch, and I think even the heater controls have the same style knobs. So we'll just put that back together as an assembly like that, and then we are done, as far as I can tell, stripping the dash. Okay. Yep. All we got to do, we're going to sand it down. Any little rusty areas we'll seal, but really it's not bad at all. It's just going to need a good scuffing down and make it ready for some paint. Get this old decal off here. There's one down there. Clean it up real good, and we'll show you the paint, what kind it is, how we go about it. Alright, we're just going to take a quick assessment of what we got here, and this will get painted too, so we'll probably have to take some of this out, and it'll get painted the same as the dash. It's like a pot metal or maybe a fiberglass. I'm not sure. I think it's a pot metal. Yeah, or like a cast aluminum frame. So we'll have that to deal with. No big deal. Everything inside of it looks really good. Just needs the lenses polished and that sort of thing. Like I said, the frame itself, we'll have to get some more of these guys right here. This one's busted, and we got a few of them missing. Looks like two are missing, one's busted. And then, like I said, we're going to have to put 3 of these gills back in just to smooth out the look of it. And then, I don't know, I think these might show, but we can weld them up anyway. There's 2 holes here, and I know there was 2 holes there. We're going to have to weld them up. Other than that, we just going to, like I said, we're going to sand it down, get all these decals, all that crap off there, and then paint it the original black. And then, of course, the dash pad. I wouldn't think it'd be too big a deal to have this maybe recovered even in a generic way. That stitching's kind of cool. And you don't see these very often. The later dashes looked like that on the end, but then they wrapped down and had a more articulate look to them. This is very simple. And so that's it. Just a short kind of a video. I've really only been out here for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Doesn't take long to tear one of them down. Oh, and yeah, the wiring. We're going to clean that up, but everything looks like it's in pretty good shape. Here's the bulkhead. So, really good situation on that. Oh, and the fuse box. Yeah, there's the fuse box. I say some of the connections need cleaned up. We're good back there. Clean up, just dirt, dust, all that kind of thing. So, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the Hoosier Garage. Make sure you like, follow us. We post all the time. Thanks a lot, guys.
We hope you've enjoyed the preceding short feature.